Today I wanted to share with you some ideas that I have on what cultural attachment theory is. It's a feeling. It's where you really want to know who you are within your culture. That time in your life where you really want it. I can't even describe it. It's a big craving. It's like you're just craving to know. Like you need it. And sometimes you need it because you're hurting. Sometimes you need it because you've been hurt. Sometimes you need it because you're lost. Sometimes you need it because you don't know who you are or where you're going or how to make a decision. Cultural attachment theory is always acknowledging those natural resiliencies that exist, the things that rest within us. Some people call them genetic memory, and sometimes when we get in a cultural situation, it's almost like it just gets a shock, and it gets pumping more. It's like it becomes awake and alive. That's genetic memory. We as Anishinaabe have like a genetic DNA, and it's like our culture exists right in our very blood. In Anishinaabe Mowin, in our territory, and this comes from the Jones family, one of the words that they've used to describe this is Windama Gowisi Winan. And what that means is it's your connection between you and any kind of spiritual connection that you might have, whether it's the water outside, whether it's the mountain, whether it's the trees, whether it's the air, whether it's your grandma or your grandpa. It's how you connect, your spirit connects to them. Tibizanakwit Canoe, he's an elder that passed away maybe about a year and a half ago. Very respected elder in our territory, in territory of Treaty 3. He said, if colonization worked, and everything that existed in us was no longer us. There was nothing Anishinaabe but inside of us except for the color of our skin. He said the culture is so powerful that one day, once again, someone would dream and we would start all over again. He said, because we are spiritual beings having a human experience. And our spirit is carried within us, our blood memory is carried within us, our genetic memory of the past is carried with us in our DNA. And it instills life force energy. And what does that mean? It means your spirit becomes happy. Because Anishinaabe are powerful. Anishinaabe are beautiful. Anishinaabe are kind. Anishinaabe are loving. Anishinaabe are smart. Anishinaabe have lots to give. Cultural attachment theory promotes the affectionate bond between a child and a family. What are the things that you do in your community that restore culture? How you bring cultural restoration to your community to support a child's development. What do you do for them in your organization to help them understand who they are as Anishinaabe? How have you, within your scope of influence, be able to change your system to help them understand who they are as Anishinaabe? Keep that question in your mind, because that's the question that I want you to have forever. Our kids today are challenged with mastering two worlds, Jaganashi and Anishinaabe. But we only give them skills to handle one world, Jaganashi. Jaganashi Mowin. We teach them English, we don't teach them Anishinaabe. We teach them how to think like that. And then we're denying them the simple fact of knowing who they are. Identity conflict is a natural process for any Indigenous person because Indigenous people view identity through two distinct worldviews, the dominant culture and their Indigenous culture. Just because I go to a non-native school doesn't mean I don't carry my Anishinaabe with me. I don't leave my Anishinaabe at home. everything starts and begins with our spirit. Ancestors are viewed in the present tense, meaning they're here with us now. We understand like the 7-generation principle, that the decisions that we make, like there was 7 generations before us that made the decisions for us to be here today. And everything that you do today and tomorrow will impact those next 7 generations to come. You're right in the middle. You're in a pivotal time, the ebb and flow. Our culture is so beautiful that there's just nothing but amazing teachings in there. Aboriginal paradigms, Anishinaabe paradigms are unique. Man, they're unique. There's so many different teachings, so many different ways of doing things. And they're way, way different than non-Indigenous ways. In Indigenous worldview, we're not really separate from the natural world. We're interconnected, and everything has equal value. In the non-native worldview, sometimes like it's about power, sometimes it's about positionness, sometimes it's about being like up here, and I'm going to tell you how it is. But we're not like that. It's like all of us being together, sitting together. And the thing that's really different about Anishinaabe Mowin is that a lot of our language is verbs. We were people that did things. 80% of our words are doing. If nobody got the fish and dried the fish, nobody got the moose, nobody dried the moose, there's no food to eat. We were doers. If you look at the English language, 80% of their language are nouns. We are overwhelmed with the non-native world right now. We're inundated with it. It's just so much so. And our systems are like that. Our whole systems are built that way. Now it's time to bring a little bit of our culture in there. When we look at socialization, we got to look at the 2 worldviews. What does the government want? They want good, tax-paying citizens. What else do they want? Anybody? Compliance, good. Conform to society, and how are they going to do it? They're going to do it through power and control. That's what socialization is all about, to be a good citizen. I don't know how other way to say it. And how do they do that? Well, we got Head Start, we got K to 8, we got grade 12, or we got high school, we got college, we got university. So what kind of services do we have? We have Ontario Works. ODSP? Okay, what else do we have? We have mental health. We have social work. We have child welfare. We have like just all of these programs designed to help support you in your socialization. This assimilation process is for everybody, every single Canadian around. They want good citizens. So we had colonization that impacted us as well. What that created for us was dysfunction. It created alcoholism. It created drug addiction. It created family violence. It created physical abuse, sexual abuse, sexual assault, lateral violence. It allowed for elder abuse to happen, right? Because now it's a cycle. It created the ability for your women to be dehumanized, for your women to be raped and murdered. This little girl right here had to walk through here. Help me, I'm socialized in this. And she seeks out our culture. Something becomes, she goes to a workshop. She comes into contact with somebody who smudges. She comes into contact with her first powwow. She hears some guy singing at the drum. Something is triggered in her. She wants to know who she is as Anishinaabe. Anishinaabe have their own socialization processes too. Anishinaabe wants you to know your purpose so that you can help and be a part of Anishinaabe. To help and to be a part of. So what do we do to socialize our kids? What have we done? What have we been told? We teach on Anishinaabe language. We teach about the values. We teach about all of the cultural structures. What kind of kid am I going to be in here? Given that I still have like all these other systems around me. I still have K to 12, high school, college, university, all of those ones that you guys identified, right? Even all the systems, Ontario Works, like all of them. We still have all of them, they're still there. The only thing that's different is that you've given me something, you've given me a heart. What do you want to give your kids when we talk about socialization? Do you want to give them this? Or you want to start giving them this? We want to create strong boundaries so that the impacts of colonial effect isn't getting in on here. I don't think we could be perfect, but I think we could sure strive for it. They say that culture is complex. They say it includes your knowledge, your beliefs, your arts, your laws, your morals, and that it passes over time through generations. This is the definition of culture that I teach right here. This comes from Day. She says that it's an integrated pattern of human behavior. An integrated, meaning together, pattern of the way we behave with each other. In Anishinaabe, art, dance, and music is very different from family to family, from community to community, right? But it's even different from nation to nation. What can you do in your programs that adds art, dance, and music? What cultural structure activity can you do in your organization that brings in diet and food? Good, planting a garden. Recreation. What's the games of Anishinaabe? When's the last time you guys played the moccasin game around here? If you guys need moccasin game men to come here and teach you, I'll hook you up. There's pieces of this structure that you could take on within your organization. That is all the elements of culture. You got to sit together and you got to say, what kind of cultural standards do I want in my organization? What kind of cultural standards do I want in my community? He told me that when changes happen in this world, when they happen, that we're going to need each other to rebuild. You have to protect our cultural knowledge and our cultural teachings. And you have to teach it in a good way. Because the next stuff that I teach you on about colonization and decolonization, that stuff hurts. Colonization is historical trauma. Colonization is multi-generational effect. Colonization is residential school effect. Colonization is our history, our context. Everything negative that we've experienced as a people. They wanted land and resources back then. That's why colonization happened. Now that was back in 1492. This is what this historian's saying. Ask yourself today what's happening with land and resources. Does it still fit today? Oh yeah, darn tootin', hey? Colonization for Indigenous people is the collective, pervasive experience. What does that mean, collective? All of us. What does pervasive mean? Pervasive means like just constantly, all the time, just all the time, coming at you, all the time. Tuk, 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 tuk. Pervasive. Experience. means that we've been through it. These are some of the things that have impacted us. Low mortality rates, mental health illnesses, child mortality rates, poor housing, overcrowded housing, poor educational outcomes, residential school effect, unresolved grief and trauma, loss of stability, loss of identity. All of these things exist. These are a direct result of colonization. What are the tools, the colonial tools? How did they do that? Well, there's control. Control in a number of different ways. Government, legislations, laws. There were psychological strategies that were used. The introduction of alcohol. The purposeful introduction of disease. If you wanted to go off the reserve, you had to get a permission slip. If you wanted to go off the reserve and get rations or things like that for you people, you needed a permission slip. The Indian agent had that much power. If we think of all of these laws, like 1920 was when it became law that every single First Nation child had to go to residential school upon reaching the age of 7. You might not have been a residential school survivor, but you come from a community and live in a community where your family or your community members had to go. And when you seen them go and you witnessed that, it produced a psychological fear. Has any of you ever been taught how to hide from non-Native people? I don't mean that in a rude way. That's a lived experience. My grandmother taught my mother how to hide from non-Native people when they came to our reserve. My grandmother, when I lived with her, she taught me how to hide. And it's not uncommon for us as Anishinaabe to have experienced that, have been taught how to hide. That's a psychological strategy that's been impacted by us, right? It produces fear. There were massacres. Like Thanksgiving was a day where a whole tribe of people was massacred. And the government in the States didn't want to honor every single time there was a massacre of a Native tribe, so they picked one day. If I'm not mistaken, I think that was George Washington. Our treaty negotiations weren't something that was really positive. It was, sign it or I'll kill your wife. I'll kill so-and-so. Those are historically documented information. Man, I could tell you so many different laws that we've been through as a people, starting from the Civilization Act. Next one was the Indian Act. It's the biggest colonial tool ever. How to work with Indian people, how to educate Indian people, everything's in there, right? And we officially became a ward of them when we got our status card. We're no longer Anishinaabe the way we used to be. We're Anishinaabe the way colonial system wants us to be. But I'm not here today to leave you in a mindset of colonization. I'm here to say that let's turn it around. Let's start decolonizing our mind so that there is purity that exists, that there's purity, love, kindness, caring that exists in our cultural structures. You are all leaders, every single one of you sitting here. You are leaders within your own family and your own community. Okay? You have a scope of influence that exists around you. At the Institute for Culturally Restorative Practices, the only thing that we teach is how to make your organization better so that you can serve our Anishinaabe children in a way that produces better outcomes for them.